Hello, hello. Can everyone hear us? This is our second attempt at this episode of SheGulls.
Well,
It is
it does say live now on my screen, which it didn't say before.
okay. That's
So,
good. That's a
and I think
start.
that's what I was confused with, because the first time we did this, it definitely had live up on the corner with the
But
time.
it didn't say that this
hasn't
last
said it.
time.
Oh, mine did, and it still does. And I can't see
Okay.
anything on YouTube at all. Oh, hang on. Ooh, hang on.
Oh,
There is one on YouTube, but I don't know if
on?
anyone else. That's just one watching. It's just me, probably.
That's probably.
I don't know if anyone else has come over.
I might have it open. I'll go on and tell them we're on the other one. You search for us.
Yeah, see, it's not showing. Again, it's not showing on mine. So weird. Oh, do you know what? As well, the other thing that I'm just going to put out there, the thing earlier worked, right? It worked earlier, I think.
Weird.
They were definitely connected to us earlier, so something was working.
If you go to IRONS go to the SheGulls page, click on the live tab. It's there now. It says on
I've
air.
sent a message.
This is so professional because this is obviously going to be at the beginning of the thing, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah, I'll have to trim it off. It'll be on the live, but it won't be on the proper.
Well, there's no one watching us live yet, so we're all right.
I'm just clicking on it.
I think there's millions of people that go and watch it.
I messaged on the other link to tell them we've reloaded and we've got to, come and find us.
Right, I think I can see us now, but I don't know how far behind we are. Oh, okay. I think we're about 10 seconds behind. So that's okay. I think that's about right. What the bloody right? Well, I'll have to look on. I'll have to trim this bit off. Okay. Well, we're going at least.
We're
going.
No one's watching us, but.
Oh, there's 3 now. There you go.
Oh, there's 3. Oh, hooray.
I think that's us, though.
I've just clicked off it, so hopefully it's not us.
Hang on. I'm going to try and send.
Can you hear us, everybody?
Ah, Bicey guy's there.
Oh, he's found the elusive episode 87. Yeah. Let us know. Let us know that you've got in, and then I'm going to start the podcast at that point.
Audience of 1 at the moment.
That's so weird. I'm going to have to watch the broadcast from earlier tonight then, because that would be weird if it did the one earlier tonight, but not this one. Very strange.
Yeah.
Because I could definitely see on the one we did earlier, we had like 8-9 viewers the whole time.
Yeah, and I think they're sitting there waiting for it to come back on there. So, but I've messaged to say you've got to come and find us. We've reloaded, and you're going to have to come and find us. Basically, just search the page. I mean, I've only got to click SheGulls, and it will be there. So
yeah. They might need to do a hard refresh. I think that was what happened on mine, is because it was still picking up that. There we go. Right, Charlie's here.
He's going to gradually bring them in.
Any more? Oh, I might be able to give you the actual YouTube link if that would help to post that.
I just put that up on the last one.
Oh, did you? Oh, you put the actual link for this.
Whether it will work, I don't know, but
we'll see. Oh, now I've clicked on the Brighton Hove Albion YouTube. Really, Charlie?
Come back, Joe Sayers.
Who said that?
How much more chocolate do we need to give him?
Dear, oh dear. I think now it's saying 3. I'm always suspicious when it says 0. I know I shouldn't get big-headed, but I feel like there should be at least 3 or 4 at any one time. Right. Well, just to the people that are listening, if you wouldn't mind putting a little comment just to let us know that that you can see and hear us, and if you can, then we'll get started. I think like I say, I think it's on a slight delay, so. I don't know if I should be making noise now, just in case. See, they're still not saying anything, are they?
No.
It seemed to be. Hang on, I put my earphone in. It seemed to be there on YouTube. It was sort of.
Oh, hang on, they've popped up now.
Ooh.
Yeah, right, there you go. People are coming in now.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so I think there must be a bit of a delay to YouTube because those comments were 9:20.
Yeah, Abby,
it's 9:21
with a hello. There you go.
Oh yeah, there we go.
I'm like a psychic now.
Right. Okay, that's good. That's good. We're on. Right, I'm going to start again then. Now everyone's in. Actually, I think, can I run the video again? I think I can. Bear with. Hello, and welcome to definitely the first time we've done this introduction. This is episode 87 of the SheGulls podcast, powered by Albion Obsessed, the one and only podcast dedicated to Brighton and Hove Albion women's football team. I'm your host, Duncan. As ever, I'm joined by fellow Albion fans, Ben. Hello, Ben.
Hello, definitely the first time since earlier on.
And hello, Claire.
Absolutely never been here before. Thanks very much for inviting me.
Exactly. You're welcome. You're welcome. At least we only noticed, I think, how long did we get into the last episode before we noticed?
I was halfway through. Yeah, I was halfway through the match. So,
yeah. This time we only just got into the beginnings of the discussion before we realised no one could see or hear us. It's a new world, as they say. So, yes, normally, of course, we do have Abby with us. I think she may well be following along this evening. She is on
in the chat,
cat healthcare duties as last week. So, thoughts and well wishes out to her and the affected feline. So hopefully she'll be back with us soon and everything will be right in the world of the cat. So, yeah, I mean, it's been an interesting couple of days. We obviously had a game yesterday, which, as I mentioned on the original time we tried to do this, wasn't actually broadcast on TV, much like the first part of this stream.
You can probably find a couple of seconds of highlights somewhere, I think.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that, as I say, we call it lost media, don't we? So, you can do a bit of digging, find some highlights. I think there's the longest one I think we found for the game was, I think, on Brighton's website.
Yeah, it's about 6 minutes.
Yeah, and then West Ham's I think was a little bit shorter on their website. Right. And then there's literally a minute and a half on the women's Adobe website. So, in fact, all their highlight videos and stuff seem to be a minute and a half. So that's obviously someone's
going to bother, isn't it?
Yeah, it's almost like they've just told AI make a minute and a half video out of the highlights of this game.
The TV games I think were like 3 minutes, which considering Birmingham City put 8 past Chatham is quite impressive. Sort of squeezing 8 goals into 3 minutes.
It was like bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
So you can find it out there. Give the highlights a watch. I don't think the whole game is available. Whether it will become available at some point, I don't know. But obviously, for myself and Claire, it was okay. We went along. Obviously, Ben can give us his thoughts on what he was able to see from the various sites and everything. So we'll obviously go into that. Also, we'll talk about some of you might have been with us on our first stream tonight, the actual legitimate first stream we did tonight at 7:00, when the balls were drawn out of the, I don't know what you call it. They used to come out of a bag, didn't they? But a bowl, I guess it's a bowl.
A rattly plastic bowl, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. They have the camera underneath, so you can see the hand in there, giving them a good old jiggle round, as it were. We're still talking about the FA Cup draw here, just to clarify. But yes, we did unfortunately draw Arsenal away, which I think we were discussing before the podcast, probably the second worst we could have got. I think Manchester City away would have probably been the worst because it would have been a long way and a tough game. This is still a tough game against a similar level of opponent, but at least it's in London or the vicinity. But yeah, any other combination, I think we probably would have taken other than City away. So it's not, we weren't, getting the party poppers out and clinking champagne and everything. We were, but we have to make the most of it. That's the thing, isn't it? So we'll talk about that a little bit later anyway, go into that a little bit more. But I think obviously we should start with the game yesterday. as I say, positive result, especially as we lost 3-2 literally 2 weeks ago at the exact same stadium with virtually the same teams, give or take 1 or 2 players rotated round. So yeah, Claire, as I say, you were alongside me in the corner of the ground yesterday. What did you make of it all?
Well, I mean, it was great. I'm gonna have words here with SheGulls up here, who said literally to Charlie yesterday, "Can't wait for Arsenal while leaving the ground." I mean, literally, he's a jinx. Right? Because the last 2 games we've played them, he starts off these chants about silent in the library and blah blah blah, and they bloody score against us. So we're going to have words with him. We're going to have to gag him or something, I think, from now on. That's it. No more mouth shut from SheGulls.
No predictions.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was one of those games where I think I just want to win that game. We needed to beat West Ham. Just end of story. Didn't matter how it happened. We just needed to beat them. And I think for the first half, we were pretty much in control. I don't think we looked like we were really in any uncomfortable, moments. I think we probably had most of the play at that point. We got the 2 goals. I mean, Fran, it's just brilliant. This is what we say to people all the time. Pressure the players, because if you do that, you can force them into a mistake, and that's exactly what Fran did. She just kept following it up, and the goalkeeper had no choice but to just kick it, and absolutely miskicked it straight to Fran. Thank you very much. You don't need to offer that twice to Fran. She's going to put that away. And then the second goal, lovely, worked it all the way from the back, from one side of the pitch to the other. Great diagonal ball through to Kiko, and she's not going to miss from there either. So, brilliant. We're 2-0 up, exactly where we were 2 weeks ago. And now everybody, I think, was all on a bit of oh no, just hold on to this, please. But to be fair, I honestly thought we were going to get another one. I thought if we came out in the second half the way we started that first half, I thought we could easily get a third, and that would kill it off. But obviously, Fran got a little bit of a knock, and rather than risk anything, they took her off. And I think that just changed the balance of our team a little bit. And I think, we lost that little bit of experience at the time we needed to have that experience. Do you know what I mean? Because I think even in that small 5 minute of commentary, the commentator says you can see that Fran is calming everyone down. And you're just that's the little bits that having experienced players on the pitch brings you. And then we lost Chankovic as well with an injury. She came off. So it's a bit now we've no experience again. We is exactly in the situation we were 2 weeks ago. They've scored a goal. We've done a load of substitutions. Our team's all unbalanced again. And now it's just them wave after wave. And you're just oh, please not. But Caitlin came on. And I don't think you can knock that girl. She's going to put her head wherever she needs to put it, and she did. And she even had an opportunity to score a goal. I think probably a little bit too far out to get any real, wallop on it to get it past the goalie. But it was a little bit of a break from us. So I thought the game was managed better. We were much better at managing it. There was a nice few little, if you got a kick, went down, have a little minute rest. Don't break up that play, stop them from wave after wave after wave of attack. I think we were much better on the wings, blocking out Assaye. She didn't get half as much space as she got in the last game. I think it was just really good. I think it's, fans, we enjoyed it. We all had a good sing-song, and, we all had a good chat with the players after it. And it was nice to just be all in a good, happy mood. So, yeah, I was pleased. I think it was a result we needed. Got that kind of monkey off our back of going to West Ham and constantly losing when we don't deserve to be. Now we can have a little break, get everybody fit again, and take Chelsea apart.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think the first half especially, I thought we played really, really well. I think that's probably the best we've played against West Ham in recent memory, to be honest with you. And I'll include the Subway Cup game in that as well, to a certain extent. It felt like we'd learned a bit of a lesson from the game 2 weeks ago. And I think, although Dario did mention the pitch again, that it wasn't obviously ideal for our sort of passing play style. It felt like the players knew what they were coming up against with that in this game. There weren't in the first game, players were slipping over, the ball was getting stuck under their feet, it was bobbling all over the place. It was doing a little bit of that, again, yesterday. And, understandably, the weather has been bad sort of nationwide. It's not just in Crawley, although Arsenal fans obviously think it is. So, it didn't feel like it almost, I don't say it was felt like a home game, but it just felt like they were used to being out on that pitch. And so even though the pitch was a bit uneven, it didn't seem to affect them too much. So I was quite pleased by that, because obviously I do think it played a little factor in the last game, although we were 2-0 up after 82 minutes. So, make of that what you will. But yeah, it just felt quite calm. It felt, quite steady. It was consistent pressure. It was, quite high intensity, I think, to begin with, until we got the goal. And then it was maybe sort of slightly lessened a little bit. But I think that's just a acknowledgement in a way that it's difficult to play that style for 90 minutes. You effectively got what you wanted to get out of it, which was an early goal, a bit like we did against Aston Villa, basically. You go really high press, you force them into a mistake, get the goal, and then you can afford not to press quite as high to get some sort of stamina back and, hopefully develop that second goal, which they go on to do, obviously. I think the second half, like you said, it did change a lot with Fran going off. I think she was on managed minutes anyway. So it didn't surprise me that she went off at half time.
Yeah, no, I just hoped we would have got maybe another 10-15 out of her.
Yeah.
That third goal, and then ship her off to the bench to have a rest, but
absolutely. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it could have been that they were going to give her 60 minutes and then she got a little knock.
Yeah.
And they thought, you know what, we were going to take her off after 60 minutes anyway. So if she's taken a bit of a kick it or whatever, then let's just not risk that and get her off at half time. But I mean, we've spoken a lot about Fran, will she, won't she go in January, and what she's going to do at the end of the season. But it just drove home to me how much of a better team we are when she's on the pitch. It just especially in the final third. I don't know if you guys picked up on this. Obviously, Ben, you'd have to be thinking probably more about the last few games, but a lot of the times when we go into the final third, it's that sort of last pass that doesn't seem to go right. It gets cut out, or it goes backwards, or whatever it is. And that was just something I really noticed with Fran, and obviously, bringing in sort of Kiko and Chankovic and stuff, was every pass she played was it was on the money. It was straight to the player. It was, maybe the player then got tackled or whatever, but you can't, we haven't got 11 Fran clones or whatever. She probably wouldn't be that good in goal anyway, but you never know. But yeah, I thought that was the main difference was when Fran would play a through ball, it actually went to the player. Yeah. She played a couple of lovely balls out wide to Charlie. She played a couple of out wide to Kiko, and then obviously tried to get in the box herself and things like that. And obviously, she scores the first one through the high press, and that's good composure, because I think that's where a player like Fran has an advantage, because I think most of us in that situation, as soon as you get the ball, you're like, right, I'm going to smash it a goal. And Shemik's right there, and she closes down Fran quite quickly, and Fran just goes, well, the thing is, if I take it round you, you're stuffed, because you're never going to catch me. So she just moves it to the side to get Shemik out of the way, and just sort of, slides it in, basically. So whereas you can see a younger striker or more inexperienced striker just going, oh my God, I've got the ball in front of the goal, I'm going to smash it. And then you're running the risk of just hitting it straight at the goalkeeper.
Yeah. And
then the second goal is just a really good through ball, taking advantage of Kiko's speed to get in behind. And then a really good finish by Kiko. And as Charlie rightfully pointed out, Dario said he kind of came up with that sort of move that they did between them on the plane back from Australia.
Well, I mean, the whole team, I think it was, because it was remarkable.
It starts with Olislagers, doesn't it? And then
it came straight through from the back.
Yeah. With
Manu playing off off Maddie as well, and that sort of stuff, and opening the space up, and yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it's a team effort, but it's it's Fran who plays the ball, and that's the thing. That's what I would say about Fran is if there's one player you want playing that ball to Kiko, it's Fran, because I feel like she knows the weight she needs to hit that at. She knows the angle she needs to hit that at, and I don't necessarily have that same trust in some of our other midfielders.
She has the experience to know to hit it, and she also has that connection with Kiko that knows Kiko's gonna know it too. And I think there's so many times we've been frustrated in the crowd when you're like, Kiko's there, Kiko's made that run. Kiko makes that run 3 or 4 times every game. But the person that's been playing in Fran's role while Fran's not been there hasn't seen it, nobody else has picked up on it. And then I feel like there's more confidence when Fran's playing for them to move it forward. Sometimes when she's not, that's when we start doing side to side, back and forth, rather than chucking a ball up there and giving it to her. When she's on the pitch, they'll pass that ball through to her and go, okay, you do it then, you do it. And that's how it kind of feels.
And she'll do something
with
the
it. Experience brings.
Yeah, even if she just holds on to the ball for a minute to wait for players to come up with her or whatever. Yeah. And it's just that kind of that, I don't know. I think it's experience, but I also think like very good players have it, is that when you get the ball, your thought is not instantly, I must get rid of it to someone else. Whereas, I played football when I was younger. Hard to believe. I know a lot of people will be saying.
So did I. Hard to believe. I know.
But I don't know about you guys, but whenever I used to play, obviously just amateur when I was a kid, a lot of the time I wasn't comfortable on the ball. That's why I was never a footballer, amongst other reasons. But I was never comfortable on the ball. I always wanted to make sure it wasn't me that lost the ball. So I would be, as soon as I would get the ball, I'd be looking who can I give it to? Who can I pass it to? And I did not want to be like under pressure. I did not want to have to draw it away from a player or shield the ball or anything like that. And I just think the best players in the world, and you can see Fran is, or was once upon a time one of them and still is incredible, is just when she gets the ball, she doesn't panic. It's like it slows the game down. That's kind of a bit of an American football term for like quarterbacks, is the more you play, the game slows down, so everything's not 100 miles an hour. It starts to you're not as panicked, etc. So yeah, I thought her coming in, Chankovic, obviously they've played together for quite a few years as well, so they've got a good partnership. And yeah, it just all seemed to click in the first half. I think the second half, it felt a little bit like the second half of the game that we ended up losing 2 weeks ago, insofar as the only difference was mainly we didn't concede 3 goals. We only conceded 1.
Yeah.
But from the point of view of, I think 85 minutes, we were literally playing a formation. I think was maybe like,
I think we went
7-2-1 or something.
Yeah, we went to 5 at the back, definitely. For the last 10 minutes, it was like we were not going to rerun that last 10 minutes the way we did last time.
No. And the thing is, I'm not a big fan of sort of battening down the hatches, because I just feel like a good team at some point is going to get goals against you, even if you go all out defense. If you just let them come wave after wave after wave, eventually they're going to get a chance. And obviously in the previous game, in the league game, that worked for them and they were able to do it. This time we held out, but we are still playing West Ham. We shouldn't sort of get away from that fact. We did beat them, and I did think we were the better team, but we didn't blow them away.
No.
Like, it was a close game, and if we want to finish up 5th, 4th, whatever, I know this was FA Cup, but if we want to be up there, we need to be looking better than of course you're going to get an unlucky 1-0 or something or whatever, or an own goal or something like that, but in 2 games against West Ham, I'd say they've been quite even. If you take the whole 180 minutes, it's been relatively even, and I think that in itself is a little bit disappointing to a certain extent, because it feels like, I know they've got home advantage and everything like that, but it just feels like we should be better than these teams. We shouldn't be having to scratch.
I think as well, home advantage, really, unless you're Arsenal, no one's really got home advantage in this league, because away fans can make just as much noise as a small crowd. We've proved it over the last year. Do you know what I mean? We've gone to matches and we have outsung and outnoised the home support.
Yeah.
But you should be like, that should your ground, and that should be something that is like sacred to you as players. That's where I think that it should be, you know, your home advantage.
Yeah,
I don't think many teams really feel it. I think like maybe because they aren't feeling like it's their home ground, because they've got a men's club and they've got, you know, and
yeah,
they're all feeling a bit left. But
I think in terms of like atmosphere and stuff, I think you're absolutely right. Quite often the away fans outsing the home fans. To be honest with you, that's happened a few times at the Broadfield, to be honest with you. I think it's more the fact of like, you don't have to stay overnight. You know, the Brighton team stayed overnight. You're eating a meal away from your normal surroundings. You know, you've had to travel, whereas the West Ham players are, you know, in theory have got not as far to travel.
The pitch is dodgy.
Sort of thing. And that's what I mean. I think playing on the pitch all the time is another one. And that's why I wonder if, having played on it 2 weeks ago, it was less of a home advantage to West Ham, because we were almost like, well, we know what this pitch is like. We literally just played on it 2 weeks ago. So they lost that advantage, the kind of, you know, we know where the bobbles are and the lumps and the grassy bits and, you know, all that sort of thing. So, yeah. Ben, we haven't introduced you yet. You know, but you've been sitting very patiently. Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, what could you see from the, you know, I think actually the highlight packages weirdly have had different highlights and stuff. So you've probably been able to see maybe like 10, 15 minutes.
Well, yeah, maybe about 8. Yeah, it is really frustrating. Like, you know, as you said, it's a funny thing with women's football that all the games have been pretty much available, pretty much everywhere, wherever. No, but you know, so it does seem strange. I mean, whoever signed this deal, basically saying that, you know, while I don't know, because there wasn't even another game on. We were they moved us to 12 o'clock, presumably for the telly, but then nobody broadcast it. So why? What? So yeah, it was just you know, you obviously, like you say, you get used to, if the game, you know, a men's game's on at 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, you have to go there to watch it live, and even sort of after the game, you can't watch it back 90 minutes. You can see, you know, some good highlights and stuff, but it just feels weird that women's football's just suddenly decided to start. I mean, a lot, you know, paywalling for a start, because they were all on TNT. The Liverpool Everton game was also on Channel 4, wasn't it? But otherwise, they're on TNT, so they're paywalled, and then half the games were just blacked out. It just really seems to. I mean, and again, we were joking earlier, wasn't it? One of those blacked out games was Arsenal, and so you can imagine how, what sort of, you know, the fact that Arsenal fans couldn't see it. But yeah, I mean, I was sort of basically sitting here watching on the BBC website. They have I mean, there's nothing really, no information about the games, not even the ones that are on the telly. You just go, you can click on the link on the sort of fixtures page, and then there's a live text ticker, which is, I think it was also on the Albion website, and I think there's a few other places that do it. There's just a central place that does it, and various people. So, you know, you're sitting there like 5 minutes go by, and the last thing was corner to West Ham, and you're like, did they score from it? Yeah. So, you know, and then, but no, it was great there, because I sort of had it on, I sort of half watched this, and suddenly 6 F Kirby. What?
Mm.
We were a bit like that. I think we literally just sat down and, you know, got comfortable, and you're like, oh.
Yeah. And then obviously we got the other one after 20 minutes, and obviously, but really, it's the only updates you get are when there's a stoppage, and it was basically Vivasay kicking everybody. Although it's kind of a lot of them as well. Just, you know, basically they were just fouling our players. That's sort of the only thing that's going through. So I couldn't work out whether Vivasay got booked for a particularly egregious offence, or just this was just accumulation because it was about her 5th foul or something. So yeah, it was frustrating, but also, no, but not also just frustrating. I mean, I suppose, as an Albion fan, I probably should have been there. it's sort of my bad that I wasn't there watching the game. But at the same time, you think, well, the casual football supporter doesn't get to see it, doesn't get exposed to it, doesn't. So like I said, I mean, look at the TV picks. Birmingham Chatham, that was on Friday night, and you think, well, fair enough, because Chatham are like the last tier 4 team left in it, so put them on. And then Chelsea Man United, I mean, obviously that's the tie of the round, so that's going to be on the telly. Liverpool Everton, Merseyside derby again, obviously. And then tonight, I mean, London City Tottenham, I suppose, that is probably the other big all WSL tie, because it's bigger than Brighton West Ham. So you can kind of understand the 4 TV picks, but it's just the fact that they've just completely blacked out all the other ones. It's just madness.
It's even you think, why don't you just play the whole game but don't play it live, like play it later? At least you still get to watch it. It's the fact that you can't watch it at all. That
it's being filmed because they put the home. They can't put. They don't just turn the. Someone's going to score in a minute. I better turn the camera on.
There were several cameras up on the gantry, so they had several people filming. We were filming it. West Ham were filming it, and I presume the FA were filming it. Why didn't you put the whole lot on after 9 o'clock or something at night? You can show them, put them on. At least
like 24 hours later or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just seems bad. But I enjoyed it. Then obviously they got that one back, and it got a bit squeaky bum. But again, I didn't think they were going to quite collapse like they had the week before, or 2 weeks before. So it was kind of okay. And obviously you don't get much in the way of updates. You don't get the fact that West Ham are now camped in Brighton's half. Brighton are battening down.
And they really were towards the end of the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually funny. Like, I have to agree with you about the whole battening down the hatches thing, because Maisie seemed to take a bit of a knock with about 10 minutes to go. And I was like, what's happened to Maisie? What's happened to Maisie? But he brought Caitlin on rather than like. Ulag was on the bench, wasn't she? And you'd think, well, midfielder for midfielder, but obviously he's keeping it tight. But at the same time, like you say, suddenly you've brought on a defender for a midfielder. The team's changed shape, and you're inviting them on, and so that sort of thing, that sort of tactic has been known to sort of backfire sometimes. But then maybe you put Caitlin up front.
Well, I think that was half the problem in the last game, was that's exactly what they did. They changed the shape of everything, their substitutions, and it just unbalanced us for 5 minutes, and it was enough for them to get a goal. And then once they got a goal, their towels were up. Yeah, and that was a little bit like yesterday. They got that goal, and you could see them going, "Hang on, we've been here before," and their towels were up, and you're just like, "Oh no!" But,
I think. But, I was just going to say, just on that point, Ben. I think one of the things that we suffer from sometimes is we have no outball when we batten down the hatches, and that was what I'm sure I said this to Clara at the time. Kiko moved to slightly more central, but she was kind of like a right-handed striker rather than a right-handed forward, and I think Rosa was the kind of her. Her left-handed associate sort of thing. But the thing is, Kiko was pretty much knackered at this point, like, because she'd been ploughing that furrow down the right-hand side. Rosa was fresh, but she's not quick. And what was happening was we were clearing the ball, it was just coming straight back. Because we didn't have anyone who could sit on the halfway line and run after it when it went over the halfway line into their half. Because we had no players in their half. So, but at least if you've got someone who's willing to run it down, if they've got one defender back or whatever, it becomes a foot race sometimes, even if you just clear it, and that's where I think we missed having Ulag on
or Carla. He said,
or Carla. Yeah, I think, to be fair, I think Claire said Carla would have been a good shout as well, because you need to make the opposition think that there is a threat on the counter, because then they have to leave more bodies at the back. And if they don't, you go we could have scored a third and gone 3-1 up.
Yeah,
all you have to do is just keep knocking it over the top, and you've got someone.
And eventually, if it's 1-on-1, eventually one of the times the Brighton player is going to be closer to it than the West Ham player. But we were just getting it coming straight back and again and again and again. And you can do that sometimes. And we survived against West Ham in this game. But against better teams, and in the last game, we didn't survive when we started playing like that. So
and Maddie went off after an hour, didn't she? I think she'd got a bit of a knock, or she was on managed minutes or something. And again, I mean, she's the Velcro boots player that you can hoof it up to her, and she'll just hold it while people come out to her.
Yeah.
Whereas I mean, Kiko's not that player, and I mean Rose is not really that player either. Rosa wants to turn and run at you. Kiko wants to run past you, whereas Maddie will take it and sort of hold it and protect it. And again, I mean, Carla can do that too. So again, I really don't know what's going on there. But I think I think as Claire said, I think our goals, we were straight out of the blocks, and that high press. Obviously, people talk about mistakes from Kinga Shemik, but to be fair to Kinga, I don't think Estelle Cascarino gave her anything to work with. So obviously she didn't look over her left shoulder and just laid it casually off to Kinga Shemik as Fran's overtaking her, and Fran almost arrives at Kinga before the ball does. So there wasn't really. I mean, she could have hoofed it sideways, but there really wasn't anywhere for her to go. So I felt a bit bad for her in that. The second one, as you said, it was just such a team goal, so it's straight, and again it was Manu overlapping, like the other week at West Ham when she scored a goal. She runs forward, lays it off, gets a quick 1-2, and keeps going. Obviously, this time she squares it to Fran, who plays it through for Kiko. Who again, I mean, Kiko basically makes was it Hanshaw or something like that, their left back. She's looking over. She sort of thinks, oh, shall I try and step up and play her offside? And as she does that, the ball goes through and Kiko's gone.
Yeah.
They were great goals. And I think we were, I don't know, it was a little bit unlucky with their one because that free kick comes floating in. Baggers jumps up to punch it and doesn't get a lot of meat on the ball, does she? And it just falls straight for Wanderler. And who just basically just lofts it into empty net. I mean, you can see Maisie sort of going, obviously feels that somebody was fouling somebody. Probably Vivasei, because she was in the middle of it. But yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a mess. I don't know, goalkeepers like to punch these days, and very often they don't get much on it. So it almost needed. There's a thing that Cheer does quite a lot, where she just kind of palms it on.
Yeah.
Rather than
uses the
punching
momentum of the cross, or the ball or whatever to. Yeah, although I think that might have been what undid her last time at West Ham. She tried to use the momentum of the ball to palm it over the crossbar and ended up palming it into her own net. So I don't know. So
and I think on the whole, it is a nasty place to go, partly because of the the conditions and that kind of stuff. And as Claire said, we just tick the box. We've won it. We're in the next round. Oh, goody, we get a nice trip to Arsenal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I must admit, I did think I thought Baggers had a reasonably good game, but it was one of those ones where they had a lot of shots, but they were straight down her throat.
Yeah, actually, I was going to say one thing about Vivasei. I mean, again, I've only seen the highlights, but Vivasei's contribution basically seemed to be just kicking everybody. And I don't think she got. I mean, she was fouled herself a few times. She didn't seem to get as much freedom as she normally gets. But that seemed to be at the expense of giving Katie Zellum an enormous amount of space instead. But luckily, she didn't bring her shooting boots with her because she got a lot of chances that just went straight to Baggers.
I mean, I think I'm trying to think of a time where Baggers had to really make a save, and I'm not recalling. And some of that is good positioning from her, right? You can't lessen the effect.
At one point, weren't she, when she came running out and took the ball with her chest and almost dribbled it past the defender and kicked it out, and you were like, hang on a minute, who have we got in goal here? So,
well, and we were saying, weren't we, that you can see she's learned from Chia that that is what you have to do sometimes.
Sometimes you got to go with it. Yeah.
Ironically, and I'm not going to say like the punch was like a mistake or that she shouldn't have come out, but I do wonder, ironically, if she'd have stayed on her line for that one, if we might have had a better chance of dealing with it.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, that's what she used to do all the time, was stay rooted to her line. So that's the thing,
sometimes
isn't it?
why they don't catch it, because I thought that ball looked like it was
could have been
catchable.
caught.
Do you know what I mean? It wasn't zippy, like you said. It floated in, and I think in hindsight, when that's all we've got now, I wonder if the attempt to catch it might have.
Well, I think again,
if they tried to knock it out of her hand, she would have got a free kick.
Yeah. I think sometimes if there's no pace on the ball and you punch it, you've got to put pace on the ball.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you've got to time a really, so if you're just literally putting your hand out to it, it's just bouncing off your hand. Yeah. Which again which is one of the reasons why Chia just kind of helps it on its way sometimes. Which is quite a nice technique. But yeah, I mean,
I will give credit to Wanderer though. If you watch that finish, she pretty much instantly controls the sort of the ball and like hits it straight away, because obviously we were trying to throw as many bodies in front of it as we could, but she took it down, hit it very, very quickly. So I'll give credit to her for finishing that off, because it would have been easy to kind of think, oh, let me just take a little touch to the left or touch to the right, and then I think there wouldn't have been a route to the net. But she took it very well. I think she could end up being one of those players. She's pretty young. I feel like they got her. Did they get her from Lyon? They got her from someone good, and I think she's quite highly regarded. So I wouldn't be surprised if she continues to progress, if a bigger club starts to decide, maybe she'd benefit to, going to someone higher up the league. She's one to watch, definitely. But I didn't think other than that they were that threatening. It's just it's more of a generalized threat, I would say. Like, I think when you play against some of these teams, you think, oh God, we've got to watch out for so and so. We've got to watch out for so and so. Almost when we play teams like West Ham, we have to watch out for ourselves.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the threat is ourselves.
Yeah, we
losing
will win the game.
Focus on it.
If we do our job, if we do our tactics right, and we play as well as we can, we will win that game.
Yeah,
but it's just like they score a goal, it's 2-1. It seems very close, but it came from a slightly loose punch, which. I think they had one very similar, but
I think they
went straight to their player.
They were down the wing, weren't they? And I think then Raki kind of, dealt with it. But the ref decided that was a foul and it was a free kick, and then they floated it in, and boom, there you go, goal.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all, these are all sort of things that you could try and avoid. Obviously you give away the free kick's going to happen, but then it's compounded by, the punch doesn't go very far. But like I say, they had one that they punched or Shemek punched, but it went straight to their player. And I don't think she meant to do that by any stretch of the imagination. It's just luck.
Yeah.
Baggers punches that, and if she gets a slight bit more on it or a slight bit less, it probably goes to a Brighton player. And likewise, if Shemek down the other end, I think ours might have been from a corner quite early on. Yeah. If her punch is slightly different, it goes to one of our players. But we don't seem to get the sort of just the bounce of the ball sometimes. You think, well, they've had one cross, we've had 5, but their one cross has gone in, and our 5 has been like caught, punched, saved but cleared. And you think, bloody hell, like, what have we got to do to, get a goal here? So, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we did win. And I think in the cup games, especially, you can, if you win somehow every game, you win the blooming cup. So, I mean, then, no one worries about whether you only just squeak past West Ham.
Yeah. And I think that's the more exciting part, isn't it, really, when it's the cup? Because it's 90 minutes. You got a 50-50 chance. Just go for it. Just go for it. Because you have literally nothing to lose. You're going to go out if you don't, so you might as well chuck yourself at it. You know, I'm watching LCL Tottenham doing exactly that now, just absolutely going nuts. It's fun. It's great for entertainment for the fans because it's back and forth and stuff. And I think, you know, sometimes I think that's how we play better. When we are high pressing to the ball first, really fast, quick thinking, we win games. And I think that's how we have to keep doing it. When we start taking a bit worried about what the opposition are doing, that's when we lose it. When we start worrying about what they're doing, when we start putting the extra defender on and things like that, that's when it starts to be a bit like we're playing for them now. We need to play for us.
One eye on the scoreboard, the other eye on the clock.
I think that's definitely a thing.
There's a little panic stations, I think, maybe, you know, yesterday where they probably hit the 80-minute mark and it just had that little internal, like, oh, God, last time, you know, let's get through this. But, yeah, I mean, it was an entertaining game. And as by SheGulls said, the ref had a great game, Sophie Dennington.
I agree with that.
I think she was fair. She booked, I think, 3 on each side. I don't even remember seeing some of them, so she did them very discreetly. But
she booked one quite early, I think, when it was.
Yeah, she didn't take no messing from either side, but she was fair on both what she was not taking and what she was prepared to let go. She was quite good at letting it run on. She wasn't like stopping for every little finicky little thing. I thought she did really, really well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was just going to mention Charlie's comment there. I mean, this is, I presume, I don't think we hit in this game. I don't think we hit the bar and then they scored. I think he's referring to the LCL game, but that's a very good point. You know, we hit the bar in the LCL game or hit the post in the LCL game, and then they go down the other end and score. And you just think, sometimes you just think only Brighton could do that, couldn't they?
Yeah. Only we could have that little bit of luck.
Yeah, exactly. It just feels like we just never get that bounce, that rub of the green, that, you know, we don't get like an egregious offside allowed to be a goal for us, you know, etc., you know. So there we go. But we did win into the next round, into the hat, but like I say, it's a bowl now, bowl nowadays.
Into the bag and then out of the bag into the bowl.
There's many different receptacles involved in this thing now, all of which is to say that none of them could prevent us drawing Arsenal away.
Our new nemesis.
I mean, to be honest with you,
constant nemesis since the beginning of time. Actually,
pretty much until we beat them.
Not much new about their nemesis.
I haven't hated them as much as I do now, though.
Well, this is the thing, you see, because I think ordinarily it would be a bit of not a mare game, because obviously when you play like a big team, you always want to beat them and you hope and you pray and, you know, all these things. But there wasn't really much issues between Arsenal and Brighton. You know, I think Arsenal, there are a lot of stuff that Arsenal does that all the other clubs aspire to. But obviously this recent situation with the postponement of their game and some fans, not all fans, you know, so please, if you accepted the postponement of the game and, you know, you took it on the chin, then I have sympathy with you. Absolutely do. A lot of us felt the same. You know, a lot of us traveled to Crawley from other places. You know, Claire probably comes as far from Hayling Island than, you know, as any Arsenal fan does. So
I do that every week.
And exactly. You know,
not a one-off game that got postponed.
Some would say glutton for punishment, but you know, so but there was a little bit of needle from some Arsenal fans online, you know, kind of suggesting that we should have done this or we should have done that, or we should have called it off the day before, we should have moved it to the Amex, we should have called it off half an hour before, we should, you know, we've contributed to their fixture congestion, blah 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 blah. So, you know, there's a little bit of an edge there, you know, and I think Claire, you've been quite vocal on the subject. You know, what are we going sort of in with a bit of needle at the old?
I think so. I think, like you say, I mean, listen, I have a justice wound. I do not like when people, you know, are talking rubbish. And I just felt like Brighton does a lot of things wrong, in my opinion. They are rubbish at so many things, and I'm happy to call them out on it. But they can do nothing about this. This is weather. It's weather. It's the FA. Like, there's nothing you can do about the referee calling the game off. Like, it's so. How dare you come online and just be literally slagging us off as a club? Suggesting that we're somehow conniving and contriving to make their title run, in jeopardy. And it's like, what title run? You delusional child. You are out of the title run. You haven't been in the title run for since kickoff of the first game. Like, this is Manchester City's title. You are not going to be anywhere near competing for it. And yet, they somehow are like, well, we need someone to blame, so let's put it all on Brighton. And it's like, no, I'm just not having it. I'm not having it. So, yeah, I want us to stuff them. And I hope they don't win anything this season now, just for that. Because you don't deserve to support a club and slag off other people's clubs just because you think you're entitled to something that everybody else isn't. You want to watch a game. Well, we all wanted to watch the game.
Yeah, it was very much punching down, wasn't it? These peasants with their pathetic pitch and
how dare we? How dare
the pitch thing as well. I think, obviously, it had the match been postponed to the scheduled for the Amex, then maybe the pitch probably would have been fine because it's obviously drainage, blah 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 blah. But they've been playing the Champions League games recently, and they played Bristol City, wasn't it, in the FA Cup at Boreham Wood, and that pitch looks like Dagenham. Possibly worse actually. Dagenham. It's terrible. It's broken up. There's no grass in the goal mouths, all that sort of stuff. And had it been raining sort of in the last the few days leading up to that game, as it had been leading up to our game last Sunday, then that game may very well have been postponed as well. So it happens. It's especially when you play at a stadium where the pitch isn't Premier League quality, which they decided not to play their FA Cup game at the Emirates, and so therefore they had to play on a terrible pitch, which potentially could have been waterlogged.
Yeah, and I said to Claire, where Arsenal are now, they're probably sort of 6, 7, 8 years ahead of where a lot of WSL clubs are still. And actually, if you go back 6, 7, 8 years, they were having games called off at Boreham Wood, because at that point Arsenal hadn't put a load of money into making sure the pitch was up to scratch and things like that. And obviously, like you say, Ben, even though they still have the odd issue. Obviously the game they played in the Champions League, and that was a wet pitch. The pitch was okay. I think it was playable, but it was wet. It was soggy. So it's hardly surprising that they then played on it sort of 4 or 5 days later, that there was a lot of damage to it, shall we say. So I think it's easy for people who have just seen Arsenal, or they just watch Arsenal, or they just watch the Lionesses, to think every stadium is going to be a massive stadium. Every pitch is going to be a carpet. Every grass pitch will have undersoil heating, etc., etc. And it's just not the truth. And quite honestly, the only way that everything is going to happen, all those things are going to happen, is if the money that goes to these teams who sort of a perennial top, what we call the big four, the top four, if the money stops washing around them and it starts to come down to clubs like Brighton, so that we can improve things, so that we can, hopefully we get the new stadium. That'll cost money. We'll need to fund that somehow. Obviously, there'll be commercial interests and stuff a part of that. Yeah. But otherwise, we're just, you just get the same thing. It's the same teams that win the same competitions, so they get the prize money. They can buy a new player.
I saw today, Farrah Williams talking about LCL and their players and saying, nobody outside of the WSL knows who they are, etc. And my response was, because you don't talk about anyone else other than the top four.
Yeah.
That's all the media talks about. So, of course, nobody else is going to know about anybody. Do you know what I mean? Like, why would you know about LCL and what players they've got unless they're playing Arsenal or Manchester United or Chelsea, like that. That's the only time they ever get spoken about. And then it's very derogatory. It's very much about how Arsenal are going to win this or how Chelsea should win this. It's never ever, wow, what an opportunity for this, new club that's come through that's never existed before and blah, blah, blah. It's just really, really, and I think that's part of what is building this entitlement with some of these fans. And again, like you say, it's not all. I've got a lot of friends who are Arsenal fans, and not all of them are, this entitled rudeness from them. But it is very much like they have, like you said, they've watched the Lionesses games playing in all the top tournaments and all the top countries and all the top grounds and been to them all and gone, oh, these are lovely big stadiums that everyone's got. We can watch them here. I mean, I guarantee you that the Arsenal fans have literally bought all the FA Cup final tickets ready for the game because they are, in their mind, they believe they are going to Wembley. And if they get there, they must have a ticket for it. God forbid that they miss out, and that somebody else goes in their place. And it's that entitlement that just really winds me up with them.
Yeah, and I think that's what bothers everyone. I think to be honest with you, it probably bothers even other top 4 teams to a certain extent, because I think they have a lot of the same, the same gripes. They're sort of like, well, we beat you and we're ahead of you, but we're still sort of treated like you're sort of inferior, clubs and that. But, Arsenal have, obviously, they won the Champions League. I think they got about £1 million. I think it was about £1 million or something odd for that. Then obviously that entitles them to go into this World Club Championship, and they get about 1.5, 1.6 million for that. Now, obviously, you have to go and win those games. No one is lessening the fact that winning the Champions League is incredibly difficult. But what that does is it perpetuates a team like Arsenal to be able to buy all the best players off all the other teams who have got young players and young English players and blah, blah, blah. It's just a vicious circle. Arsenal win, they get more money, they buy better players.
Yeah.
They win, they get more money, they buy better players, and so on and so forth. And there's no way almost, other than if you're like an LCL, and I absolutely take your point, I 100% agree with you. The only difference being is with Michelle Kang, she's almost willing to, she's a disruptor.
Yeah.
She's willing to disrupt the market.
She knows that. She has to do that. Yeah.
Exactly. And she's going, okay, you might not have heard of all our players right now, but give me a season or two. We'll be challenging for top 4, and we will have Lionesses in our team, and we will have ex-Barcelona players in our team. They've already got a couple, and so on and so forth. So, but not every club can afford to do that. Not everyone has a benefactor who kind of is looking at it more as a kind of a passion project, shall we say, and that's not to, again, lessen Michelle Kang's involvement, but she wants to get that club and she up the league. She wants to challenge, and she's going to put whatever it takes into that club to get it there. And most other owners, especially if they're like men's team owner, women's team, we know a lot of clubs, a lot of women's clubs of men's teams they don't make money. They break even or they lose money.
Yeah.
So if you are on the business side, if your owner is a business person, then they're going to look at it and go, well, I would have to put so much money into this now that I'm going to take such a big loss that I don't know whether it's even worth trying in the first place. Because the best case scenario, we spend about £10 million, we lose £10 million, and we still don't finish top because Chelsea and Arsenal are already there, already doing it, already got 40,000 fans. They haven't got to build a fan base, they've got it, And partly that's because they developed, their women's team very early. But that's my point. They're a long way through their journey. They're in pole position of everything, fan base, having the stadium to use every time. Not even Chelsea use their men's stadium all the time. And actually, to be fair, some of the teams that do use it all the time use them all the time because they don't want to pay or ground share to have a stadium for their own, for the women's team of their own, or ground share with a lower league club. We've only got to look at Everton with Goodison Park, which kind of fell in their laps. But that place was empty.
Yeah,
it was like a churchyard, and that's with, I would say 3/4, if not more, of the stadium was tarpaulined.
Yeah.
Not even open to be able to sit in because they knew they weren't going to get enough people.
Yeah.
You know, so you can't. Arsenal fans were almost like suggesting, well, if you had it at the Amex, it would have been fine. Well, no, that's not that. You play games at Goodison Park, you play games at the King Power and stuff. Are they making an absolute shed load of money off you? No. And that's why they can't afford to buy better players to challenge Arsenal in the first place. So it's all cyclical. And until they find a way to start feeding money further down the pyramid, or they find a way to disrupt the pyramid to such an extent that it levels the playing field in a way, then it's just going to kind of keep going as it has done
It's
evermore.
almost like you've got to kind of almost have like a transfer ban on the top 4 for 2 seasons, haven't you? Like that's it. That's the squad. Tough. You can bring through some kids, but you're not allowed to buy anyone, because I think that's the only way you're gonna get any movement towards sort of the mid-range clubs, to give them any chance to move up and to get, you know, those lower down clubs, to get them competing for middle ground, you know, because like you say, every single massively overhyped player will just instantly go Chelsea, Arsenal. It's one or the other, isn't it? You might get a few now going to Man City because they're starting to see that Man City are building something, and you might get a few going to Man United. But basically, everybody else is going to get whatever's left over.
Mm.
And that's no disrespect to those players, because obviously that's where we're at financially. We have a limit on what we can spend, and we have to budget for that. And we've done really, really well, I think, in picking up those players who are just under the radar, who maybe given another season or two might have been above the radar and we would have been out of touch. You know, Chia, for instance. I think if she'd have had this sort of season somewhere, and Arsenal now, who are currently looking for a goalkeeper, would have been straight in for her, you know. So we've got in there before them. And that's how we're having to play it. We're having to try and work out who are the players that are potentially going to be the £1 million player in a season or two, and get them in now. And hopefully we get a couple of seasons out of them before they move on to the next stage up in their career, because they're not going to win anything with Brighton. They're not going to win the Champions League. They're not going to win WSL with Brighton in the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, I know one thing they've done, which I'm quite a big fan of for 2 reasons. I'm not fully 100% sure of all the exact details, so someone I'm sure will correct me if I'm wrong. But they're looking at, or they are going to bring in contracts for like youth players between, I think, 16 and 18. And the reason they're doing that is obviously partly so that the player has some sort of stability of knowing that they're going to be at the club for a certain amount of time and stuff like that. But it's also the fact that if then Arsenal or Chelsea come along and say, oh, you're a really good 16-year-old, how about you come play for us instead? There's a recourse for you to get money. Mm-hmm. Now, my issue is I think that will be pennies on the dollar. Mm. You know, if someone, you know, let's say, for example, you know, Patience Fergus, who is probably one of our best young prospects. I think she's top scorer in the PGA League. I think Brighton is 2nd or 3rd in the PGA League. So we have a good young, you know, load of team. If a team comes in and says, you know, Arsenal come in and say, would you like to come and play with us? And she decides she wants to, and who would blame her if she did? You know, that's nothing to do with her. And this could relate to any player. So, you know, please don't put this on her or anything. But what is the sort of compensation going to be? Because I feel like it would be, I don't know, 10,000, 20,000. Well, if that player turns out to be, you know, the next Michelle Adjumang, or, you know, turns out to be like the next Alessia Russo, then they're not going to, you know, Arsenal or Chelsea are not going to bulk at paying £10,000.
They're paying £1 million a player, so 10 grand's nothing, is it?
Yeah. So
and if she doesn't, then no harm, no foul, kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't quite know what the answer would be. Whether you could put in some sort of structure that if they hit certain target, if they're poached as a youngster, and then they hit certain targets, that you then owe the
maybe it's like like in the, you know, the Premier League, isn't it? Where like the sell-on fee, if you sell them on, we get a 20% of whatever your sell-on fee is. You know, things like that.
Because if I mean, I'm just going pie in the sky, but if they poached a player from our academy and it was going to cost them 150,000, the player might end up staying because they won't get poached because they won't put up the 150,000, or Brighton can then afford to replace them and invest in their own academy with the money that they've generated from that one transfer. And that's the thing. I think the only way you're ever going to do it to keep your sort of young English talent is to make it so that it's almost like the buying team has to go above and beyond like a normal transfer fee for it, you know, because there needs to be a deterrent for them to pinch youngsters off other teams, you know, and whether that's, you know, like introducing a thing where like when they play their first WSL game, that's 50,000. If they play an international game, they get 100,000, something like that. Because let's face it, if you've got an England international, you're Arsenal, and you got them off, you know, let's say Charlton. If they become an England international, you'd probably be like, well, yeah, we paid 150,000 in the end, but we've got an England international. Whereas if they never do anything, we only paid 10,000 for them. So, you know, I don't know. I'm again pie in the sky, but they've got to think of a way of redressing the balance, because otherwise you just get into perpetual cycle and there's just no way to break it. Actually, I think I'm pretty sure this is Ben, WSL Comp. So OB to us friends, but I'll say WSL Comps for anyone who's in the chat. Has said, I'd be interested to know why the team that comes 5th or 6th in the WSL doesn't usually replicate that the next season. Liverpool, Villa, us. Ben, do you have any thoughts? Ben, do you have any thoughts on why that might be?
I don't know. I mean, it does seem to be almost like a cursed thing, doesn't it? Because you don't generally see the team that finishes 4th struggling with relegation. Not like we're struggling with relegation, but yeah, as you say, 2 years ago Liverpool were 5th and they've been at the bottom of the league all year. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I suppose there's a certain amount of a sort of weight of expectation, isn't there? That suddenly you sort of feel like one of the big girls, and maybe the other teams start looking at you like you're one of the big girls, and so play differently accordingly, kind of thing. Like I said, there's teams out there that, you know, like Leicester park the bus. Would Leicester park the bus against the team that finished 2-3 places above them? Maybe not, but they'll park the bus against the team that finished 5th. So there's that kind of thing, I suppose. But yeah, I don't know. And then I suppose there's the sort of the recruitment thing, isn't there? You sort of now you're finishing 5th, looking at 4th, and you think, well, we need to upgrade a bit here, and that can sort of. I mean, we basically always change half the squad anyway, don't we? But suddenly you're looking at sort of completely changing things over and stuff and upgrading. Sometimes the upgrades aren't available. Like, you know, for instance, we lost Keats. Whether we could have upgraded Keats or not, we haven't, because there's a big gap where Keats used to be. So it's a funny one, isn't it? It'd be nice to maybe finish 5th again one day and then 5th again the next year, or even 4th instead of maybe 7th. But I don't know. It's a funny one.
I've got a couple of theories, but I want to get Claire's thoughts as well. See if you've got any additional ones to throw in there that I haven't thought of either.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think a lot of the times finishing 5th is a bit of a surprise. Like, I know that we're all trying to do our best and be as far up the table as we can, but I think sometimes there's a team that, you know, like us last season, if you really look at it, we should nowhere near have been 5th. Like, we stayed in 5th because nobody else overtook us. Basically, everybody else was worse. That was all. And I think that kind of gives a false sense of where you're at as a team, as a squad. And so therefore, you then go into the marketplace with everybody going, well, you finished 5th. So you must have some money now. You must be like ready to pay up and go big places to get to 4th. And actually, they're like, we didn't really plan on finishing 5th, and we don't have the finances for that. So we're still buying players in the middle ground. We're not buying top 4 players. We're buying middle ground players, and they've got to then settle in. And then you've got 5, 6, 7 of them, because you've had a clear out of the ones that didn't quite work or got to the end of their life cycle as a player or whatever, or just don't want to play for you anymore. And, you know, we ended up with a new squad completely that has to bed in again, that has to start from scratch. And yes, I think we did upgrade in some areas, but we didn't upgrade with top 4 players. We didn't go out and spend $1 million quid on, you know, Olivia, what's her face, Smith, or, you know, Alessia Thompson. We can't get them sort of players. And that's what you have to do, I think, if you want to maintain that 5th and above, which is what I think Spurs have done. You know, that Spurs went out in the January window and went, thank you very much. We want to stay here. We're going to get the players to keep us there.
Well, I don't think they bought anybody though.
No, they've been very lucky in that
they
managed
basically,
to pick up.
Martin Ho had them as Rolodex from last summer. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that's luck of the draw sometimes, isn't it? That you can get your hands on players that at the right time to help you. But I just think, like, we did it with our defence, and then it lost its way to the rest of the squad. Like the midfield and attack just disappeared. We didn't get anyone in. And whether that's because the guy we had doing transfers went to Boston Legacy or whatever it's called, and we just didn't have the person that could find these little gems from somewhere. I don't know. But I think, you know, the same with Liverpool. They didn't spend any money. They got to 5th and they didn't really then pull out the dollars to go, we need to spend some money and keep ourselves there. Villa didn't really do much. And so, yeah, they just drift back into where really our squad actually is, which is mid-table. I mean, Liverpool have proper dropped. I mean, but I think with Liverpool, it's a little bit different. I think you have to take into account that they, as a club, you know, they've had a lot of grief there. They've lost Jota from the men's team. They've lost Beard from the women's team. I think that plays a huge part in how that squad is reacting. Because you've seen immediately that the people they've brought in January, how much better they are as a team now. How they've got through their grief period. They've put some money in, and suddenly they're picking up results and picking up points and games. So I just think, yeah, when the team that finishes in 5th generally has not planned to finish 5th. And they've just been there by default because everybody else was worse than them.
Yeah, that I think that was definitely going to be one of my points, which is, and actually, you know, Ben's kind of made a similar point. He said maybe it just takes an awful lot to finish 4th and not really that much to get to 5th. And I think that is the crux of it. We have an average squad. Yeah. If average squads play average squads, like time after time after time, a season after season after season, sometimes an average squad is going to finish 7th. Sometimes the average squad is going to finish 5th, because it can be the kick of a game, an own goal, a penalty, whatever. It's such small margins in that mid-table, you know, and exactly like you said, last season we got off to such an incredible start, shot up the table. I think we were 4th at one point, might have been 3rd for a couple of days.
I think we were 3rd at one point, yeah.
Yeah. But what happened is we then sort of dropped in and plateaued in 5th. But for some reason, none of the other teams could beat anyone to get above us. And it was almost like that worked for us last season. But it feels like you go into a new season, that's not going to be replicated. Yeah. If you do plateau, if you do the exact same thing, if you start off well or vice versa, you finish well, but you don't have bad parts of the season, or you lose against teams that are below you, etc., 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 you all fall into this middle section. And actually, the middle section can be decided by a win here against someone you weren't expecting it, or a draw away at Man City when you were expecting to get thrashed, or whatever. And I just think if you're all kind of in the clump of you're all almost as good as each other, every season one of the teams is going to do a little bit better than the other ones at a certain point, and then that's what elevates them to 5th. But to Ben's point, getting from 5th to 4th almost takes so much that I think some clubs don't have the guts to do it.
Yeah.
And I think the clubs, once or twice, clubs have tried to do it, but they've not recruited the right players, or, you know, it's not worked out for whatever reason, and then that set them back because suddenly they've spent a load of money. They were 5th, now they're 8th. Oh dear, we've sacked the manager because we've spent all this money and we're 8th. Now you've got to start again, etc., etc. So I think there's that element to it, and I also think like the length of the season plays a bit of a factor. As Dario said quite a few times, the problem is if you get into a bad run of form, you can kiss goodbye to whatever, you know, the position that you thought you were going to be in, which is why he never says what position he wants to finish in. But you only got to look at Man City last season. You know, Bunny Shaw was pretty much injured all season. Hemp was injured pretty much all season. Miedemar was in and out. You know, I think they had another couple of quite nasty injuries as well. Obviously, lost 1 or 2 players, you know, at the beginning of the season, like Alexandria and stuff as well. And that meant that I think they must have come 4th because the other 3 of the top 4 in the Champions League, so they must have come 4th. But that just shows you they're the best team this season. Well, the difference to me is, yeah, they've got 1 or 2 players in, but not actually. They've not done a lot in the market. You know, they brought in Lohman, who, from what I can tell, doesn't even often play that much. You know, she might get more time now SheGulls around, but you know, she hasn't been pulling up trees, I would say. Good solid player though, of course. But more so, it's the fact that the players that they didn't have last season have all been there this season. I think Hemp had another little knock and was out for a few weeks, but she's been there majority of the time. Bunny Shaw's been there majority of the time. Miedemar, Carolyn's started to come good because she's had a bit more time to adapt and everything.
They've bedded in, haven't they? They've bedded in, and they got, you know, they've built their squad slowly over the last couple of years, but they've also had the money to buy the players. Top 4 players.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they invested in the right players and everything. But what they didn't do was panic when they finished 4th and go, oh, we need to buy Olivia Smith. We need to get so-and-so. We need to spend £1 million. They went, do you know what? If our team's fit, we're still a very, very good team.
Yeah.
Like, we just need to make sure we keep our players on the actual field. They've done it, and blow me down if they're not pretty much, you know, I mean, I wouldn't say they're nailed on to win the title, but they've got to be the hot favourites.
I feel like it's a cyclical thing, isn't it? Like, they've come good. Their squad is starting to gel at the same time as Arsenal and Chelsea's is aging out.
Yeah.
So I think that's why we're seeing Man City and Man United at the top of the table, because they've both done the same thing over the last few seasons. Slowly built it up, brought some new players in each time, built it up, steadied the ship. Now they're at the top of the tree because Arsenal and Chelsea's players and their squad, it's coming to the end of its cycle, like every winning squad does. You know, so I mean, it'll be interesting in June to see, because there's going to be a lot of movement, I think, from all 4 of the top clubs, and there's going to be a lot of movement for the clubs underneath it. It's just going to be now who's going to get the best of the best and who's going to get the best of what's left.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where you can only use the cards that you have in your hand. And I think we're supposedly, you know, this kind of team that gets these sort of diamonds in the rough and develops them and things like that, particularly on the men's side. We haven't been able to do that in the past because of the fact that the women were often only on like a year's contract or 2 years contract. So if you had a good season, the maximum a big club would have to wait would be 1 more season.
Yeah.
You know, and in some cases, say with Turland, she had a decent first season, very good second season, but then she's out of contract when she's banging form. So we haven't been able to use that kind of thing of like, oh well, you want Moises Caicedo? Well, he just signed a new 5-year contract last year, so guess what, 125 million or whatever.
Yeah,
you know, we're not going to get that in the women's game, but that kind of thing. It feels like with Chia coming in on a longer term contract and stuff like that, that is what we are trying to do. But then you want to see that money reinvested, you know. And I think in the meantime, while we're maybe waiting for 1 or 2 players to kind of develop to their full potential that we might have got on a free or we might have got when they were, you know, got in when they were younger or whatever it may be, we can't just sort of sit around and wait for that all to happen. Because then we're sort of 3-4 years down the line. Yeah. And we could, depending on how that money is reinvested, end up in this exact same position. We could end up 5th again, which we were just 5th.
Yeah.
So, you know, is there ever going to be a point where someone can really truly challenge that top four? And I think at this point it just doesn't seem likely. Within the next probably 4 to 5 years, I can't see that top four really being effectively challenged.
No, I think really
except by LCL. That's my caveat.
Potential with LCL, yeah. I mean, I just think for us, the sort of the ambitious spot is that 5th spot, isn't it? If we can get 5th spot again next year, and then hold it be one of the first teams that holds it, because I think we're in a similar space to where Man City and Man United were, is that we are building a squad, but it does take a couple of seasons. It's not finished. It's not the finished article yet. We know that because we need strike force. We need a couple of players in. But if we can get them in this summer, I think we could then become the best of the rest. We at least can be up there fighting for it, and I think if Spurs are what's considered the best of the rest at the moment, I think they're very beatable. Still, they're not pulling up trees like you say, going, well, we're going for top 4 and things like that. I think they'll fall away at that, and I think that's where we have to be aiming for where they are, and to just be battling with them every year, not just as a one-off last season.
Yeah, no, that's very true, and it's only going to get harder to keep up with some of these teams. Like you said, Spurs have money
in, and then we're never going to be able to catch up with the top 4.
Yeah, I mean, we already had the kind of conversation, that we heard the Tony Bloom comment about, well, it was top 4, but then Man United came up, and then LCL. Well, so that's 5 then. If you then say, well, look at Spurs, they started well in the season, and they've kind of capitalized on that to be able to strengthen their squad with some international quality players, certainly sort of like best of the rest type players, i.e. like they might not quite be ready to play for like one of the top 4, but they're not far off, sort of thing.
I just find that Tony Bloom thing though just a little bit disingenuous, because it's almost suggesting like we didn't even know Man United existed. Where did they come from?
Exactly.
Man United have been there the whole time. That's been the top 4 for the last 5 or 6 years. It's not a surprise. The surprise is you haven't kept your word. You haven't kept up with them.
Yeah.
Because for whatever reason, you don't consider the women's team worth this same level of money that everybody else considers their women's teams to be.
Yeah. Well, certainly not,
Yeah. So, own it. Don't put the blame on, Manchester United have done a little bit better than we expected.
Yeah. And Michelle Kang's a renegade.
United have done exactly what they planned to do. They've done what they set out to do, and you haven't. You've got a big sign up on the wall saying you're aiming for 4th, and you're not. You've no intention of it. So just own it. Yeah.
And I think we've all said, and I think Ben in particular said that it might be time to take that sign down.
Been over it, yeah.
And not stop aiming for 4th, but just take that millstone down. It feels like at the moment it's almost like the like an old-fashioned, like the yoke around the neck.
You shouldn't need it, should you? You're professional athletes now, playing in a professional team and a professional league. You shouldn't need to have things like that on the wall to remind you of where you want to be finishing. You should be wanting to finish first. Even if you know in your heart that you're not that good, you should still want to be finishing first. I don't go every week thinking, we're playing Arsenal, I don't think we'll win.
I'd like to only lose by
4-0. Because you have to have that attitude. You have to have that level of belief in yourself. Because if you don't believe it, well, you're never. What's the point of the rest of us turning up? Believing
how are you going to persuade everyone else to believe it? Yeah, absolutely. There we go. So I was going to say that was we weren't previewing anything there. We were more reviewing. Sort of.
Yeah, nothing to preview at the moment. So
nothing to preview for a good long time now. So
I think onto back to the fact that we have drawn Arsenal. It's not ideal, but as you said, it's you've got to beat them at some point. I suppose this is the sort of situation where no one are like, we'll beat Arsenal and then we'll get Chelsea in the semi-final and then Man United and Man City in the final, or vice versa.
Yeah.
So we'll have to beat all three of them to win it, which, you know, quite happily will. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of little variables in there. Well, yeah, whether it's going to be at the Emirates or at Boreham Wood, because I think we were talking earlier on, weren't we, about the fact that that is also that's the same weekend as the men's FA Cup quarter final. No. Anyway, whatever. There's a men's FA Cup one that weekend, and Arsenal are very likely to be in the hat or the bag or the bowl, whatever. So if the men have got an Emirates game, then do they want to do 2 games in a weekend? Obviously, Arsenal have also got Chelsea in the Champions League, the 2 Wednesdays or Thursdays. I'm not sure which. They got them on the 1st, which I think actually that might be a Wednesday. But
I think it's normally a Wednesday. Yeah.
But so they're going to be tough games. Obviously, there's not much travel involved. It's not like they've got sort of Real Madrid away or anything like that. But they've got 2 tough Champions League games sort of in the weeks leading up to it. So, you know, whether or not they're going to be, you know, so Boreham Wood or Emirates, are they going to be on a high after hammering Chelsea, or are they going to be demoralised after being hammered by Chelsea? And then I suppose there's the question with the scheduling. If it is going to be at the Emirates, maybe they don't want to do it next day, or maybe the TV guys, they will see there was a game this week. There was a game on Friday. There wasn't a game on Saturday, was there? Or was there?
I think there was.
But then obviously there was a game tonight.
Yeah.
So maybe they'll. Oh, apparently Tim Stillman, according to Tim Stillman said the FA Cup match will be at Meadow Park. So there you go. But then, whether or not, the TV company will want to spread them across 4 days, because they'll probably all be on live because they've all got.
Yeah, they're going to on the BBC all at 2 o'clock on Sunday at the moment. But like you say, I think they'll be spread out, won't they?
So maybe it'll be on the Monday. You never know, because obviously, Tottenham just beat stop press / spoiler. Tottenham just beat LCL 9-8 on penalties.
Yes, very exciting.
But so maybe it would, don't know really. So it could be an evening kickoff at Boreham Wood. It could be a Tuesday morning at the Emirates. You never know.
Well,
so there's a lot of variables involved. Yeah. And I think they are a bogey team, all that kind of thing. I think we've been unlucky against them in the past when they've beaten us. Obviously, we were, whether we were lucky or not, we steamrolled them a bit, didn't we, last April? But I think we really, really gave a good account of ourselves at the Emirates. We were unlucky. Obviously, Moelis Lager is very unlucky with that own goal, and Carla pulled the save of the season out of DVD. And also hit the post, and we had quite a few good chances. They were dominant, but we had probably better chances than they did. So I think it's not undoable.
No.
So I think we have to sort of we have to look at our players and say, well, they didn't cost £1 million, but I don't think
they just need to believe in themselves.
Yeah, I don't think many of the £1 million players are worth any more than the non-£1 million players. I don't think, we like to pick on Olivia Smith, don't we? I don't think she's worth as much, or twice as much as, I can't think of a £500 million player, but you know what I mean? I don't think, they obviously just wanted her, and that was the money that Liverpool wanted, and they were like, well, we've got a lot of money because we're Arsenal, so whatever. So, I think, most of our players, I would say, she's as good as her, she's as good as her, she's as good as her. So, I don't think there's any reason to be frightened.
No.
The annoying thing is that it would have been nice to have it at home, because we're always getting drawn away.
Yeah. We would have obviously got a lot more fans in for at home. Needless to say, I mean, there would have been a lot of Arsenal fans there too, but there are going to be a hell of a lot of Arsenal fans at Boreham Wood, aren't there? So, it would have been nice to have it at home.
I think as long as it's not an evening workday kickoff, I think we will take a good 200 again, maybe if not more. if it's a Sunday afternoon, I mean, how many did we take to the WSL game? 400, was it nearly?
Yeah, 300, I think.
Yeah, it was quite high, considering. So I don't see us not taking a similar amount to an FA Cup game.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, if they do spread the games out, because they've got the Champions League, I doubt it wouldn't be on a Friday and probably not the Saturday. So we'll probably be looking at Sunday or maybe Monday.
The Monday's a bank holiday, is it? Because it's Easter.
Oh, that's true.
That's a possibility. Yeah. By SheGulls said it could be a Friday. Well, could have been a Friday or a Monday because of the bank holidays, but obviously not a Friday if they've got a fixture on the Tuesday or Wednesday. So, I mean, I think it's, like you say, it's a game of football. It's a one-off game. They might have their eye on other things. We might play out of our skins like we did when we played them at home the other time. I do think one of the crucial things will be if we can get Fran and Yelena on the pitch at the same time, because I just think we look a different team when they're both on the pitch at the same time.
Obviously, no Rosa, but by then hopefully Ulag will be a bit more integrated, and maybe Carl Camacho will get to play a game of football.
Quite possibly, quite possibly. The only thing I would say, and this, I don't want to start a conversation about it, but it would be a little bit frustrating if kind of we did go there, play really well, and lose because we're a bit toothless up front. And I sort of wonder if that would be another kind of little knock on the fact we didn't get a striker. Would be kind of like, well, what we really need here is a really quality striker, and because we didn't have one, we can't beat Arsenal, sort of thing, or even if we somehow miraculously beat Arsenal, we can't beat then Chelsea or whatever, because at some point it feels like that could kind of come back to bite us. It feels like it's already
I think that's already come back to bite us. I think there's been plenty of games this season where if we'd have had a Keats on the pitch or somebody similar, we wouldn't have dropped the points that we dropped, because we've, let's face it, LCL, we should have absolutely annihilated them at Broadfield.
Yeah.
There's we have a striker on the pitch. I think we win that easily. And plenty of games. Aston Villa, if we'd had a striker on the pitch, we win that game. I just think, I said it before, I think the club did let us down as fans. I think they let us down by not finding that player. I know it's difficult. I know that it's not, it's not easy to go out and find the perfect player, but you surely got to have a backup plan. You surely have to have a backup plan when the ones that you wanted to fall through.
Yeah, I just, like I say, I just think, it would be we'll never know. It's pie in the sky, but it would be frustrating if kind of the one thing that holds us back on going on an FA Cup run is the fact that we can't score goals. And the thing is, I don't think it's like, oh, we've got 7 strikers and they're all no good. We haven't got enough strikers. That's an easier link to make, isn't it? That we don't have the personnel to do it. So I hope that is not something that affects us. I hope we don't play really, really well and just can't stick the ball in the back of the net. Hopefully if we do play well enough, we will get the opportunities and we will take a couple. So,
I suppose also the big tragedy / possibly slightly dodgy, was that the draw was the home teams were drawn by Jen Beattie, Arsenal legend, and the away teams were drawn by Rosie Comita, who's obviously sort of played at several clubs, but was obviously an Albion old girl, and also is connected to the club through their I forgot what it's called now.
I can't remember what it's called, but
Powerhouse, isn't it?
That's I think that's it. Yeah,
her and Molly are both linked to the Albion, so it's sort of obviously not entirely surprising, although completely random that Jen Beattie drew Arsenal home. But then such a tragedy that Rosie pulled Arsenal out as an away team.
Yeah.
I suppose the one good thing for playing Arsenal without a striker as such is we did beat them 4-2 last year, and it was Frank Derby, Jankovic, and Kiko that scored.
And that's what I mean. I think
all 3 of them in the team. So
I think without a striker, we have to be challenging these teams. We have to have Fran and Yelena on the pitch at the same time.
I just wrap her up in cotton wool now and just save her for this game.
Yeah, literally, yeah.
But yeah, we just
otherwise what we'll have to do is we'll have to strap her to the front of another player.
Yeah, and just have them run around. Like in cricket, they have a runner.
We'll get like Bex or whatever, and we'll just attach Fran Kirby to her. So she a bit like in Transformers, where they all used to go into different vehicles and then join together.
Or like Fran's riding like an ostrich or something like that. I'm not sure that would work with two people, but yeah. I was just hang on. Will people be back from Asian/African championships by then?
Yes, I think so.
I hope so.
I think so. Or maybe from one and not the other. Also, I mean, it obviously depends as well how far they go in the competitions.
Yeah.
The competitions run from X date to X date. But obviously, if you
Asia
go out earlier,
finishes earlier, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it would be Cheer who wouldn't, but then that's assuming Nigeria get through. If they don't,
if they ought to.
WAFCON finishes on the 3rd of April, so if they get to
if they make the final, then
we're not getting her back in time.
No, probably not the semi either. They'd almost probably have to go out so early; it's unrealistic, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's highly unlikely.
Yeah. So probably not Cheer, but hopefully Moeka and Charlie and Kiko. But we'll see. I mean, maybe that's an opportunity for one of the youngsters to get given an opportunity, or one of the more fringe players, and actually go, this is my game. This is I'm going to take this game over, and
it's. I mean, well, to be fair, it's there for the taking for Caitlin, isn't it, to stamp her mark in defence at the moment for a couple of games. But I mean, we're not actually. I think we're only going to play Chelsea, Liverpool,
Leicester
without our Japanese players and Charlie. So she's got 3 games, really, hasn't she, Caitlin, to like absolutely stamp her authority on that defensive role. And I think she will, because I think that's the sort of player she is. She's not going to hold back.
I mean, that might also have been an element of why they might not have played her in the last couple of games. Is if they were only going to bring her on as a sub, they might have thought, well, I mean, obviously they did in this FA Cup game. I think probably just to shore things up, like you said. But it's like if she's not going to start, then there's almost not a massive benefit of sort of bringing her on if the main thing that's going to happen is she's potentially going to get injured.
Yeah.
Because I don't think, I mean, Chris did say that Milese isn't a million miles away, but I didn't get the sense she's close. So I think if she's going to be back, it's going to be right at the end of that period.
Well, I was just looking actually as well. The Asian Cup finishes on the 21st of March. So unless they're in the final, we could have them back for the Leicester game.
Yeah.
Should also mention that it is Melese's 23rd birthday today. So bon anniversaire.
Yeah, and get well soon, whatever that is in French.
Bon anniversaire, yes.
Yeah, I don't know what get well soon is. So
yeah.
What does Lee Evans say? If you're abroad and you don't know the language, just shout loudly and smash the place up. And then
they always make my friend laugh because everything I'm always just like, qu'est-ce que c'est? Qu'est-ce que c'est?
She's from Paris, so basically that just do everything.
Right. So we've covered the FA Cup. That means there is only one thing left to do.
Oh God, here we go.
Are we ready? Here we go.
Ben on the ball, Ben on the mic, talking women's football every day, every night, from the first big tackle to the last late goal. Ben's got the game, Ben's got the...
Available soon on single.
Right.
Oh no, sorry, that's how many people will listen to it. Wow,
yes. Single. Let's crack on. Sorry, just before I start, Charlie said that Dario said Milese will be back in a month at the Villa game, so that was a while ago.
That's what I reckon.
Yeah, that was 2 weeks. That she should have been back 8 days ago. Then.
Yeah, she's not 100% close, but soon. Anyway,
yes, I'm going to go big on the Scandies today because that's pretty much all there is. But it's big. Melina Lurk, our big German spider, who is at Hammarby, obviously They had their second leg game in the Europa Cup quarter-final against Sporting. They won the away leg 1-0 last week. This week, they lost the home leg 1-0. Oops. I mean, again, it's one of those sort of, could Melina have done anything about that, jobbies, because it was basically an overhead kick from to about 10 yards out. And it's one of those, unless it actually hits her, she's not getting anywhere near it. It's such power as that. So, I mean, fantastic goal. But then it went to penalties, and our little Melina saved one. So they won 5-4. And it's funny. I mean, seems to be such a modest thing that she always shares. You know, if Hammerby's got a game coming, they'll sort of go, "Oh, you know, up next, whatever." She'll share that on her Instagram story. They Instagrammed her saving a penalty, and she didn't share it. It's like, come on. So there's actually a really nice video on HTV. I don't think it's on their YouTube thing, but if you go on their website and click on the HTV link, there's a lovely video of her. I've got no idea because she speaks fluent Swedish, which is weird because normally if a German goes to Sweden, then they'll speak English together. But she obviously, because she spent all that time there before, she speaks really good Swedish. So, but it's really nice. I like Melina. She's lovely, and I've got a really horrible feeling they're going to want to keep her. And if the price is right, then they might keep her, and that'd be really sad. But yeah, they've got so they're through to the semi-finals. They've got Sparta Prague in March and April, and actually I can't remember who the other semi-final is, but you know that's really exciting. I mean, they should beat Sparta Prague surely, so she might well have herself a European final. And then this is almost live loan report. Hammarby played Rosengård in the Swedish Cup tonight. I was a bit confused last week because they played, forget who, and it was like, oh, I think it's in the cup or something. They've got like the Swedish Cup is a similar format to the League Cup, right, except it actually has the European the Champions League teams in it.
They're not too big to play in it.
No, but then they now played 2-1-2 because they beat Rosengård 4-0 away. Yeah, in Rosengård and Malmo. So it was in Malmo. Interesting. It's an interesting game actually because somebody was saying that a lot of clubs are now really like loaning their players to Swedish clubs because they get played. And there was an interesting sort of Charlie, the man who knows. Apparently, there's another cup, which is probably a bit of a more of a conventional knockout one probably. But anyway, this obviously with Melina Lurk in goal for Hammarby, on loan from Brighton. Up front for Hammarby was Vivian Leah of Arsenal. In defence for Rosengård, up against Vivian, was Arsenal's Cecily Wellesley-Smith. So, these sort of 18-year-old kids are going out there and getting, it's a League Cup game, but they're getting good game minutes, which maybe we should be looking at. Again, Charlie's saying, Rennie Slegger said it on the Arsenal podcast. There you go. Maybe we should be looking to send people. Obviously, we've sent OG to AIK. Maybe we should be sending them there rather than Bristol City or whatever.
Or it's pointless sending them to the WSL 2, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what Renee was sort of saying, was that sending players to WSL 2 has kind of ceased to be a viable option. That you're better, like you said, like Charlie said, to send them to like Sweden or and maybe if they're even younger, there are other Scandinavian leagues that are you could look at Norway or somewhere like that.
I think also as well, just as your own personal growth, going and living in another country,
absolutely,
another culture, learning a language, and playing football. All massive young kids to be able to do.
And really cool as well. I don't know what Malmo's like, but Vivi is getting to live in Stockholm, which is like
absolutely. Wow. Especially Scandinavia. I think Scandinavia is probably one of the best areas in the world, I think, to live. Like they're very, very up on looking after people, making sure everybody's okay, and they're just generally nice people. I think if you've got a young teenager and you think, oh, I'm a bit nervous, I would be less nervous sending them to Scandinavia to play football than I would be sending them to Birmingham or Bristol somewhere. Do you know what I mean?
No offense, Birmingham, Bristol.
Why not go to the Scandi countries and like learn something, have a bit of a language, have more culture, different food, way of life, learn to ski, whatever it is, you know.
Well, especially in the women's game, I know we'll get back to the loan report very soon. Especially in the women's game, this this sort of pathway of going to Sweden or Scandinavia has been established for a long time. Because I'm sure you guys will remember a friend of the podcast, Angie Taylor Banks, as is now. You know, that's what she did when she was playing for Brighton, and it was the off season. She went and played the other half of the season in Sweden, and she said it was a fantastic experience. And you know, one that set her up to obviously then go on to, you know, to move to Arsenal, you know, and develop her confidence and stuff to be able to do that. So, you know, in women's football, especially this kind of going to Scandinavia, where I remember her talking about it and kind of saying that that women playing football out there was not like a novelty. And that's what she really appreciated, was if you were a footballer over here and you're a woman, it was like you're a bit weird. You know, why are you doing that sort of thing? Whereas when she went and played in Sweden, it was like, well, hang on, there are women's games and men's games. You're playing.
Well, and again, it's something they've been talking about recently is that, you know, basically the number of Swedish players in the WSL now are big clubs, and you think, well, that means that in Sweden they're doing something right, you know, because they're not. I mean, I don't know what number they can't be producing them in the numbers that we produce them, but they're producing people like, you know, Barndor Blackstenius and you know, Julia Gigliotti and all those, who, although I think she probably got where she is today because she went to Bayern Munich, but you know, they're producing some great players and they're all filling the WSL up, and so if you're an English player going over to Sweden for a season or so is only going to be good for your, you know, for your long-term development as well, isn't it? It's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
So again, but yeah, like I say, I worry about Marina because she looks really happy over there.
It's a shame they've sold all their good players. Otherwise, we could propose some sort of trade. Now it'll just have to be straight cash. Yeah,
and a lot of it because I love Melina. She's great, and I think we'll miss her if she goes. But I think she does look really, you know, like I say, she speaks, you know, I mean, obviously I don't know the difference between Swedish with a Swedish accent and Swedish with a German accent, but it basically sounds pretty darn fluent to me.
The other thing is like alluding to what we were talking about before about contracts, is we signed her to a new contract before we loaned her back out this time. And I almost guarantee that's because they had an inkling that Hammarby, from her initial loan, quite like the look of her, potentially would want to sign her. So they obviously said to her, you know, sign a new contract with us. That way, you know, you've always got a place with us. But if you do end up going to Hammarby, at least we won't be left, you know, completely out of pocket. So that was probably quite a shrewd move of Zoe and the executive team there to get Melina on a new deal. So good work.
But so anyway, moving on, sticking with Scandinavia and also sticking with Stockholm, is across the city at AIK. Olivia Garcia again played for them in the Swedish Cup again against Linköping. They won 1-0. She didn't score, but I think there's a lot. It's in Swedish, so even Google Translate has a bit of trouble with it. But it's sort of, you know, she was making a nuisance of herself and had a few chances and stuff. And you know, I think as you said, you know, it's better to have missed a lot of chances than not had them in the first place. So she's again doing well for herself. And as we alluded to, and we don't have to go around again, she's on loan in Scandinavia and getting played rather than sitting on the bench at Bristol City. So that's all exciting as well. Looking good for her and looking forward to seeing her in the summer. But again, speaking of sitting on the bench, Jess Pegram didn't get used for Rangers. They beat Montrose 2-0 in the Scottish WSL. Scottish WPL, so I should say. And again, I don't know if she's being rested because, I think she is like pretty much one of their best players.
You don't think it's some sort of like thing in her contract that if she plays a certain amount of games, they have to pay a certain amount of money?
That's
and they're just going, just sit on the bench for a couple of games.
Trying to get money out of Scots people. But yeah, I'm not. But I think Montrose, they're top of the bottom basically. There's a definite. There's 10 clubs in the league, and they've all played each other twice now, and so it's good. I don't quite know how it works, but it's split up into the relegation bit and the championship bit, whatever. Like a lot of leagues do. I still don't understand any of them, but Montrose are basically either bottom of the top bit or top of the bottom bit. So they probably went, well, we don't need to play our. It was almost like a League Cup game in a way that you think, well, we'll rotate the squad a bit or whatever, give Jess a rest. But yeah, and that's basically about it. I still don't know what's going on with Lily Vance because she wasn't in the Birmingham squad again for their FA Cup game, and obviously Evie Milner at Pompey didn't play. OJ Olivia Johnson at Forest didn't play. So although I don't know, I haven't seen the squad list because the under-19s beat Man United in the PGL, whatever it's called. You're looking surprised there, Duncan. Goal for Patience Fergus, as you mentioned earlier on.
Yeah, I should have kept her name out of it because now Arsenal fans are going to be like, "Who's that?"
Yeah, still top of this.
No, she's rubbish. She's rubbish.
Rubbish. She's terrible player. Don't look at her. No, not interested.
So they're romping away in the was it PGO? No,
PGA.
PGA, that's the film. I was going to say PGMO, but that's the referees.
That's the referee.
We don't want them involved. So they obviously Man United are probably going to have a fairly decent academy, you'd think. So we beat them as well. So yeah, excuse me.
Third in the league.
That's basically about it. So again, that's on the Evie thing. I don't know if Evie would have played in that because she's obviously dual registered, so she could have done if they wanted her to.
Potentially, yeah, potentially. Charlie says the PJ are third in the league. City, United, then Brighton. But yeah, it's looking good for the young'uns. I know they did go out of the cup like we spoke about on the last podcast, but I do think I think they were down to sort of half of their usual sort of first team that they would normally put out. So probably understandable in that circumstances, but they seem to be winning regularly and beating teams who they're beating teams like Arsenal and stuff, and that's what slightly concerns me is that Arsenal will have a load of their scouts there thinking they just beat us. So who's their best player? Oh, that one. That one and that one, we'll have them. So hopefully not. But yeah, and the PGA Cup, as Charlie points out, the actual PGA Cup, the one that we believe will be at Loughborough in, I think, is it early May? I think it's early May, I think we said. Or is it the
25th of April?
Man City game? That's right.
25th of April, perfect date day.
Yeah, it's the day before the Man City game at home, I think. There's still no sort of news on that about tickets and stuff. So obviously, again, once we do find out, we'll make sure we send it out on the social medias and mention it on here because, it'd be good to give them some support, especially when they're doing so well. So, yeah.
Yeah, and also a shout out to Evie's dad, who broke the Premier League appearance record.
Yeah. Mr. No Relation himself.
Mr. No Relation himself. Yeah. Actually, next press conference, James, are you related to Evie at all?
Yeah. How's your daughter finding the? Well, it's a bit. I suppose that's a bit of a knock on Evie's real dad. It'd be funny if he was called James, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
that would be an amusing wrinkle. But yeah, to be honest with you, I think Brighton women is probably one of the few teams James Milner hasn't actually ever played for. So, he's pretty much played for everyone else. So there we go. Right. I think that's everything as far as I know. So
I suppose we haven't really talked about the international call-ups, have we? But I mean,
no, I didn't
pretty much everyone you'd expect. I mean, the big news is Charlie going into the Tillies, I think, isn't it?
Yes, I think so. That was probably the one that we were most unsure about.
Yeah, because otherwise, obviously, Manu Colombia, Moelis Lagos Netherlands, Kiko Moeka Japan, Chia Nigeria, Caitlin Ireland, Rachel Scotland, and Rosa Sweden. They're all as you'd kind of expect, but Charlie breaking into the Tillies is really good for this thing. Yeah. And hopefully she can get some good minutes and stuff and start pushing her way into a regular place in time for the World Cup.
Yeah, I think it was. I don't know whether Charlie Grant is injured or whether it just came down to her or Charlie.
No, I think she is. I think she's not
I think she is. So that obviously helped. But I do think, to be honest with you, they're probably on a similar level at this point in time.
And also, I was going to say, Charlie mentioning that Comfort Habor is our old girl who's at Portsmouth now has got into the Nigeria squad as well, which is cool. And the other thing as well is, again, I mean, I'm less angry this time because I think we've not been performing well enough for our captain to be an automatic selection.
Yeah.
Because Maisie obviously isn't in the England senior squad. She's under 23s again, which might be the last time. Or so it's the last season anyway. I mean, she just turned 23. But interestingly, now that she doesn't play for Brighton, Bobby Benson has been called up to the Lionesses.
That's just the weirdest ever.
That's so strange.
She plays a whole season for us where we come the highest we have ever been in the league, and she doesn't get skipped. She's played 379 minutes before today for LCL, and she's in the squad.
I mean, I'm right chuffed for Poppy. But
absolutely, she should have been there already having a sniff because I said this with somebody on TikTok, and they were like, "Well, maybe she didn't play every game last season." I was like, "She did. She played every game, and." The England squad chose to play players out of position rather than give her a go. This season, just a few minutes for LCL, she's in. I mean, good, well done, Poppy. Absolutely deserve it. Go for it and enjoy it. But it's like
2 years too late.
That's just weird, isn't it?
Well, and Charlie saying, has she even been that good for LCL? Well, I don't watch a lot. I don't watch a lot of LCL, but I do remember in particular she came on at the end of a game. And I think it might have been a game they were already losing. But anyway, one of the first things she did was like lose the ball and they scored a goal from it. So I thought, well, that's like inauspicious start sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I think maybe Taylor Hines is injured or she literally hasn't played a single minute. So then they haven't picked her or whatever. So I think
Taylor Hines can't be injured because she came on in the game, whatever last game was. She came on, so maybe she's had an injury.
Yeah,
but
I don't know. It could just be this thing of like where Serena occasionally just decides, let's get them in and see how they do. A bit like Mari Ward, not Mari Ward. Who am I thinking of? No, the Aston Villa player.
I
can't think of her name.
Lucy Kendall.
Yeah, that's it, Lucy Kendall. Yeah. Where it was sort of a bit like, well, let's get her in and see how she does. And then naturally, to be fair to her, she's kind of grabbed it with both hands. It's a fair play to her.
Yeah.
But it should have been Maisie who got that opportunity. That's the thing. I think exactly like you say, I think Maisie would probably agree on her current form. She probably
maybe not
on the fringe.
Maybe not her form, but the team's form.
Well, yeah, because I think that's part and parcel, isn't it?
If you look at the squad,
she's not standing out as like she's having an incredible game and everyone else is rubbish around her or anything like that. Not that we played rubbish, but you know what I mean? It's like she's not kind of elevated above herself above the team that are not playing that well. So that brings everyone down, sort of thing. And I do think like the players, one or two players who have had an opportunity ahead of her have made the most of it. So I think she'd probably be understanding that she's on the fringe again. But it was more the issue that when she was playing really well, a bit like with Poppy, when they were playing really well and they were playing for, but they're playing for Brighton, they don't get picked. And then obviously down the line, other players come in or whatever, have a half decent game, and suddenly they're ahead of them on the pecking order. So, or they move to another team with Taylor Hines to Arsenal or Poppy Pattinson to LCL, and suddenly they're viable candidates to get picked. And I just think that's very frustrating as an Albion fan, because we want to see our players getting recognised, for their play on the pitch. And there we go. To play slightly further back, Charlie says at West Ham, I thought she looked better. Well, Charlie says she's a 6, not an 8. I think we would probably disagree. I mean,
I think she's an 8.
She's playing as a 6, but
she's been a 6 all season. She's been a 6 all season, and I think it hampers her creative ability, to be honest with you. She may well have played a little bit further up, but she was still playing as a 6. So, I don't think that plays to her strength. She's better. She's a good passer.
Yeah, well, her idol is Frank Lampard. She should be.
Exactly.
We want more Lampard.
Yeah,
again,
and I think if you're
assuming junior, not senior, because I don't think she wants to be a left back.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Frankie Lampard.
Well, I always say the same thing. She's not a Kira Walsh. She's a Georgia Stanway. If you make her a Kira Walsh, you're taking away about half of the things she does really well. Yeah. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
I don't understand it myself, but it is what it is. They know better than me. We'll see what happens with that. Maybe in the summer there's a player we've identified who could potentially move her from the 6 to the 8. We'll have to see. And obviously we need Maisie herself to sign a new contract, because at the moment she's going to be a free agent at the end of this season. So hopefully there's a few chants going around 10 more years, so I think 10 might be a bit ambitious, but maybe 5 would be more realistic. But I get what they're saying. I understand what they're saying. We don't want her to go. And like I said before, if we want to have like a core of English players who actually can compete in the WSL, she's one of a few that we need to keep. There we go. I'm not quite sure the schedule over the next couple of weeks. Obviously, we've got international games, so I'm not sure whether we're going to do stuff around that, or whether we do some of our favourite games that we haven't brought out for a while.
Chankety Chank.
Chankety Chank.
I assume she's in the Serbia squad. I haven't seen it.
I would have thought so, as long as she's okay from whatever it was that made her come off against West Ham. But I'm sure she would have been named in it. I've got a few other ideas. I'm trying to develop one called Diddy Dario at the moment. And that, when I say Diddy Dario, that's no relation to the person who's in court or has recently been in court for indecent things. And it also doesn't mean it's like a tiny Dario, like a person that looks like him. It's not like a small Dario. So we'll see.
You might be digging this hole a bit at the moment.
I must admit, I came up with the name before I came up with the game, so it may have to change as we go. Maybe we can get something in with Chris Roberts. Maybe make it a managerial duo.
Well, Kitman Tim is supposed to be emailing us with songs, song requests for his home chant. So when that comes in, maybe we can have a little bit of fun. If he sends that in, we'll have a bit of fun trying to make up the chant for it.
Yeah, and also obviously we have our own Tim, so it can double up as a chant for our own Tim.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unless it's something specific about laundry, in which case, or kits. Then, although Tim does sport some nice kits, he has his is it Charlevoix? I think he sometimes wears, or sounds like that. Yeah, I think it might be them that he sometimes wears from his travels on the continent. So. Yes, we just need to find some things that rhyme with Tim, and then we can get people their own song.
Yep.
If you're interested in writing a song, just as an aside, you can always send them into SheGulls.
Oh yeah, we love a song.
Exactly,
we're not going on the terrace.
We're not official purveyors of music, but we can make sure they get into the right people's hands. Let's say that.
The right people's mouths. We can get them singing.
Exactly,
You can't do it in some of the ones we come up with.
Circle Bruges. Sorry, Tim. That's my mistake.
Yeah.
Circle Bruges, of course. Yes. So, on that note, that's going to round off this week's show. You can find us, as always, at SheGulls on X or Twitter, and, of course, Instagram, run by friend of the podcast, Steve Gibbs. You can find us at SheGulls.com, where there are links to all our other areas of interest, all our other bits and bobs, the Patreon, the songbook, which hopefully we'll be updating soon. All that good stuff is on the website. You can email us direct, if you so wish, at SheGullsPodcast@outlook.com. And we're also over on Facebook. Just type in SheGulls Podcast and you'll find us there. And also do give Brighton women fans a follow at the same time for more sort of general Albion chat. So I think that all remains for me to say is a massive thank you to you, Ben.
Yeah, thank you.
A massive thank you to you, Claire.
You're welcome.
A massive thank you to our Patreon members, as always, Ben and Jess. And also, I want to shout out Tim as well. He has helped us with a very kind donation that he'll be too humble to admit to, I'm sure. But it was very nicely and well received. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
So really appreciate it. It is people like you guys, you three, who keep this thing going. We just turn up and talk crap every Monday. We really do appreciate it. So this has been the SheGulls Podcast, powered by Albion Obsessed.